This episode of The Run on TS is presented by Pickups, your everything on-demand delivery app. I am Kayla Krim, and I am joined by some extremely talented and very knowledgeable people here on our little panel today. Welcome, guys. How's everyone feeling?
Good.
You're great. You're great.
Yo, Kaon, you look like you just woke up, bro. What's going on?
I didn't just wake up, man. I've been doing a lot, so I'm running all over the place. But, I got myself dressed and prepared, so pretty good.
Lots and lots of basketball to talk about. Like, we were just saying this. It doesn't even feel like a weekend or a day off because all we're doing is just watching basketball. So we're going to start off with some topics that happened earlier this week. Beginning with Stephen A. Smith, he always has something to say about something. In this instance, I am on his side. We're going to talk about Steve Nash. He was announced earlier this week that he's a new head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. So let's start off with you, S. Stephen A. had some words to say about this. What are your thoughts on that?
I think what Stephen A. was saying is valid. I think it's a bit of both in this scenario. I think in a lot of ways, African-American and African-Canadian, just black coaches in general, get blackballed a lot when it comes to the NBA and the NFL. Like sports in general, there's an issue that exists about the leash that is on black coaches and black pretty much coaches in general throughout sports, right? Depending on what a white coach can do, right? Like, so white coaches throughout the NBA right now, they essentially have a larger leash because if you look at guys like Rick Carlisle, Terry Stotts, who have had different situations, but still have had their 20-year, 10-year careers in the NBA. But then you look at a guy like Ty Lue, who got fired from the Cleveland Cavaliers, moved over to the LA Clippers. Then you got guys like Nate McMillan from the Pacers who got fired. So I feel like there is this, underlying issue of pretty much hiring. And the NFL has had to address it. I think it's time the NBA addresses it as well. But at the same time, I don't know if this is the example to use to talk about that because I think Steve Nash is a good hire. It's one of those examples that's brought up right now.
Yeah, and I definitely, I have to agree. I think especially with everything that's been going on in this past year, it is easier to almost bring up these conversations because we are open now to having a lot more of them. Shay, what are you thinking about this?
I think this is a tough subject. For one, I love Steve Nash. I love that it's a Canadian that's taking on this role, and I have a ton of respect for it. However, there is such privilege to this. This opportunity would not be given to an African American or an African Canadian, in my opinion, only because it's a championship team. You're just given this championship team without a resume. You have no coaching resume. Yes, you are an incredible athlete. I think he's going to do a great job. It's going to be a great team. It's tough for me because the system is set up to cater to individuals like that, in my opinion, unfortunately. But I still wish all the success to that team. I think they're going to do great. It's sad that other individuals were not considered for such a role. And I think it was like a silver platter kind of gift, in my opinion.
Which it is unfortunate, I guess, for the league itself, because like you just said, it's tough because he's a good hire, but there are also just as qualified hires that are African-American that could fill the role. Kaon, what about you?
I did hear what everybody else had to say, but for this in particular topic, I would have to say that I do disagree. I do think Steve Nash is the right hire because you also got to think about the personnel on your team. You have Kevin Durant, you have Kyrie Irving, and you have everybody else. I'm not saying because of star power, but I'm saying because of their mental breakdown. KD wants to play basketball. Kyrie is a headache with everybody. For some reason, the reason why I think Ty Lue never got the coaching job, and I know I'm going off on a limb here, but I think Kyrie wants nothing to do with anything that LeBron James has had something to do with. He doesn't want the same coach as LeBron James. He didn't want to be in Cleveland with LeBron James. He doesn't even want the same players that were on the championship team with him in Brooklyn. So also, if you guys don't remember, Steve Nash was also the player development coach for the Golden State Warriors in their championship run, working one-on-one with KD. And I guarantee you, if Kevin Durant or Kyrie don't sign off on this, Steve Nash is not there, because those two players, well, not those two players, Kyrie in particular is a headache. So you got to get someone who Kyrie also respects as well. I know he was a 2-time league MVP and all these things, but he was also a point guard as well. And a point guard is necessarily somewhat of a player coach on the floor. So let's say someone like Rondo. Once Rondo's career is finished, or Chris Paul, I guarantee you, if they get coaching jobs, it'll be right away just because of their smarts in the game.
Absolutely.
But I do agree that there should be more black coaches. But at the same time, in this particular topic, it might have been the wrong time to address it.
Yeah, I pretty much have the same opinion there. I think Steve Nash is an awesome hire. Like, it made all the sense in the world. It just came out of nowhere. You know, nobody really expected Steve Nash to even want to become a coach.
It wasn't even reported.
Yeah, it wasn't even reported. Like, we didn't even know about an interview, right? So, I mean, I think it makes sense for them. Like you said, Kay, it makes sense because of all those reasons, right? It's just that because of everything that's happened, like Kayla said as well, and like Shea said this year, right? We're kind of so focused on it that pretty much we're open to talk about it, even if this isn't the right situation to talk about it, you know?
Which I do agree with.
Yeah, and like even like Keon said there earlier, maybe these coaches, like the African American coaches that were qualified and maybe interviewed, like obviously we said we don't know, maybe they actually turned it down because they're like, no, I'm not trying to deal with Kyrie. Like, I don't want to do that. So we're obviously not going to hear that side of the story if that was the case. But again, we'll never know what's happening unless we're GMs within the league. But moving